All right. Mike, welcome to the Sober Side podcast. It's a pleasure to have you, man. So I want to let you do your own introduction. Tell us, well, we know your name's Mike, but tell us where you're from, how old you are, what your drug of choice was, and how much time clean you have.
My name's Mike. I'm 45. I got 17 years sober.
That's right.
And my drug of choice is, what do you got?
Right.
But my main deal was alcohol. It all started and ended with a drink.
Okay. So you prefer the word sober over clean?
I do.
Because I know Max did as well. So
Yeah.
I always mix that up because for me, they're kind of synonymous.
Well, when it comes to that lingo, clean usually goes to Narcotics Anonymous, and sober is with Alcoholics Anonymous. So, if I go to an AA meeting, I say I'm sober. If I'm going to go to an NA meeting, I say I'm clean, because I don't ever want to separate myself from the group.
That's good to know.
Just like when I go to a AA meeting, I just say I'm an alcoholic, not an addict, because I just want the singleness of purpose. Same thing if I go to an NA meeting, I just say I'm an addict.
Yeah, man. Okay, I got to write that down somewhere because I always mess it up. So tell us what you're doing now. So for the viewers who don't know, we had Max on last week. I don't know how the posting will go, but that's a good friend of yours, right? You guys are doing the Sober Companion stuff. So tell us a little bit about that, man, and then we'll write it in the description too.
Absolutely. Max is one of my best friends. We recently, in the last few months, started a company called True North SC. And that's where we're going to offer like sober companionship, sober coaching for people that have dual diagnosis, etc., transportation. We just want to be out there in the thick of it, helping out.
Yeah. So what exactly do you guys do? Like if someone is, let's say, like not fit for treatment, you guys would just go and just like be with that person like all day long?
I mean, how would somebody not be fit for treatment?
I don't know. Look, there's some people who like, go to treatment like a whole bunch of times, are not able to get it. It's not the right fit for them. They kind of need somebody to like, hold their hand and walk them through. So
yeah. And it's also for people, I mean, that is one thing, but I think it's mostly for people that just don't have the time to go to treatment or go to meetings, and they need somebody there to kind of like a sober bodyguard.
Yeah.
Watch
I would want you as my bodyguard, bro. I'm not going to lie.
I appreciate that.
Too bad I'm sober.
Yeah. No, you're good. But at the same time, we want singleness of purpose, and we want to make sure that as we start this, that our hearts stay in the right place, and that we, our message is the same throughout it.
Heck yeah, bro. I completely, support what you guys are doing. And
thank you.
God bless the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So let's get into your story, man. Where did you grow up? And like, what is the first memory of your childhood that you can remember?
I grew up, I was born in Hollywood. I grew up on the other side of the hill, though, in North Hollywood.
Okay, nice.
And my first memory, you asked?
Like first ever memory, doesn't have to do anything with like drugs or alcohol, but just first memory ever.
First memory ever. Wow. That's a tough question. Yeah. It really is. But I used to have this Dukes of Hazzard. I don't know, you might be too young to know that show. But I had a pedal car, and I remember pedaling that around in the backyard.
Heck yeah. So
the General is what the car was called.
The General.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a little trike type of thing? Like a tricycle type of thing? Like a little...
Well, it was like a full-on plastic car, but like you sat in it and then you pedaled it.
Okay.
They didn't have motors back then.
Okay.
So.
I think I had one of those. Or kindergarten I went to. But anyways, so how was it like growing up? I mean, growing up in the Valley, North Hollywood at, that time, 40, 3 years ago, let's say. How was that, because it's completely different now.
Well, I'll tell you kind of how it started, if you'd like. I mean, it basically, my dad was in Vietnam, and he was a gunner on one of the helicopters.
Wow.
And lifespan in combat for someone like that is 6 seconds. So he made it through, but he also made it through with connections. So he came back to the States with a connection, and he would move cocaine and marijuana once a month, about $500,000 to $250,000 worth once a month.
Wow.
And he decided one time when he sold one of his shipments that he was going to leave us and with my mom's best friend. And so I was 18 months old when that happened. So that's kind of how it started. And the person he worked for, his name was Redneck. And he came down and he was looking for him, obviously, like, where's my money? And my mom told him, he took off. He left us. I don't know where he is. And he said, well, I'm sorry to hear that, and gave my mom a brick of cocaine. And, so we weren't like on our ass. You know, we had some sort of cash flow.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's so many questions I want to ask about that. But
Yeah.
so at what age? So you said he left when you were about 18 months. So I'm assuming this is something like your mother told you about. It's not like a memory that you have.
Yeah.
So kind of walk me through what it was like growing up, and especially knowing like your dad was like this type of guy.
Well, I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't know that at a young age.
Yeah.
I just knew he wasn't around, and I knew that my immediate family, my mom and my grandma, were not upset about it. They were just like, he's gone, and you got us. And so we were very poor, 1-bedroom apartment. We had bunk beds. I slept on the top. My mom slept on the bottom. Very poor, and I really don't think I knew the difference at the time, at a young age. I just knew that I was well loved, well taken care of, had everything that I need, and life was super special.
Yeah, man.
For quite a few years.
Yeah, props to your mom for taking care of you guys. Do you have any siblings?
There's, I have my uncle had a daughter that is my first cousin, obviously, that I call my sister, and she grew up on the apartment above us. So we grew up like sister and brother, and so yes, in that aspect.
Yeah.
And also my mom gave up a daughter for adoption when she was 15, and I just recently met her.
Oh wow!
A few years ago, reunited with her.
How are you guys? Like,
I just talked to her last night.
Oh, shout out sis.
Yeah, shout out to sis.
Hey man, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, her name's Alex, and Chrissy one's in Utah. Alex is in Utah, and Chrissy's in Colorado. So they're both like an hour, 2-hour flights away.
Okay,
yeah.
That's pretty cool. And so, growing up in this situation, what was it like in school? And kind of walk me through like how you first got introduced to alcohol.
Yeah. So school was never really my thing. I don't know if I had a learning disability or whatever. I know when I got into my teens, I was diagnosed with, at the time, it was only ADD that they were doing. And
yeah.
I diagnosed with that and, never got on any medication or anything. But, school was hard for me. It was hard for me to, comprehend. It was hard for me to, learn. And my mom's an alcoholic, and alcohol was not really an issue. I seen her come home drunk and, fell on her knee a couple times or whatever, what I mean? Not a big deal. But, when I was around 11 or 12 years old, my godmother came over, and they both have conflicting stories on who brought the heroin. But one of them got heroin, and they started doing heroin together. And so that
mom and godmother?
Correct. So, I call this a disease of perception. And, after doing a lot of work in Alcoholics Anonymous and going through the book multiple times, I know that that's the pivot, the point in my life where my perception on life changed. It just wasn't a happy place for me anymore. And, short and long story short, I was pretty much destroyed.
Seeing your mom,
child. Yeah.
And at what age was this?
I think 11.
11?
Or, I was going into junior high.
Going into junior high.
Yeah.
And did you understand what heroin was? And
I didn't understand what the drug was. I understood that she was doing drugs, though. Yeah, and stuff got real bad, you know, and she knew I knew, and, you know, there was, you know, I found her drowning in a bowl of soup one time, came home. She tried to kill herself with pills right in front of me, and I slapped the water out of her hand so she couldn't swallow it. Stuff like that.
That
Yeah, it kind
really
of spiraled out of control. And so as far as school went, you know, I went to junior high maybe 2 weeks and then stopped going to school. And that's when I got introduced to alcohol and weed.
Okay. So did you have any friends at this time that you were like hanging out with? And,
Yeah.
And what were they like? Were they
like
also
me. You know?
Same kind of situation?
Yeah. Not the greatest parenting for them, you know. The person I hung out with the most had 3 older brothers and an older sister. A couple of them were in prison, you know, and it was a perfect place for us. You know, we skated, you know what I mean, with Valley College, skated and just ran.
I went to Valley College.
Well, so
Yeah.
yeah. So we just ran the streets, and we were not good kids. You know, I got my first tattoo when I was 14, and
Which one is it?
it's covered up now.
You
It
can't tell.
was on my chest. Yeah, I covered up all my tattoos. You know, I have layers.
Yeah. So how did you get introduced to alcohol? What was that first, memory like?
You know,
that experience?
Honestly, I don't remember my first drink. Just because I can't tell you. I remember the first time I smoked weed.
Tell us about that.
It was at my friend Marcel's house. He's doing life in prison now. And
We can't shout him out because he's not going to be able to watch this.
we still can't. Shout out
Shout out
Marcel.
Marcel.
Yeah. And we were in his room, and I smoked the weed and got super high. They pushed me out a window onto the balcony, and I just was laughing the whole time. And it was like, it's what I needed at the time. You know, it was a release. You know, I've got this ongoing screw in my stomach, you know, spring that's tightened, that only alcohol or drugs can loosen, you know, and I found that at a young age.
And how would you say that spring or screw would tighten up?
Just in life, you know, like where I see people go through life, you know, ordinary people doing ordinary things, it was really difficult for me. Like going to school. You know, school terrified me.
So you dropped out in junior high and never went back?
I did go back. So I wound up, my mom lost her place here in the Valley, and I wound up calling my aunt, who was Chrissy's mom. They moved to Colorado, and I asked, you know, hey, can I come out there and live with you guys? And of course she said no. You know,
Oh, wow.
I know what you're doing out there. You know what I mean? No way.
So she knew you were, just smoking weed and
drinking, getting in trouble. The people that I was hanging around with were no good. You know what I mean? Like, dude, straight out of prison. You know, I was 14 years old, you know, and I eventually broke her down. You know, I called her like once a week.
And convinced her to let you go out there?
Yep. And if you would have hooked me up to a lie detector test, I probably was telling the truth. You know, I wanted to change, you know. And so I went out there and I got re-enrolled in junior high. I made it through junior high. I didn't make it through high school, though.
How far into high school did you go?
Junior year.
Junior year?
Yeah. And I was in a continuation to a very, very good high school. Like, it was rated on Letterman like third snobbiest in the nation. It's called Cherry Creek High.
Wow.
And all I had to do was go, and they would have given me a diploma. And I just couldn't do that because of drugs and alcohol.
So the behavior continued once you moved out to Colorado?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The second I got there, I was in tears, you know what I mean? Because I was mourning my mom because she was gone now, you know what I mean? She physically was here, but she was gone, you know? And so my aunt's like, how can I help you? And I go, you know what would help? A drink. And I was, you know, not even 15 years old yet. Yeah.
And is your mom doing good now?
No, she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, she passed away when I had 5 years of sobriety. She wound up getting sober, but by that time she got off heroin by doing meth. She stopped doing meth and just started drinking, and she was drinking like a gallon of vodka a day. Like,
Wow.
when I found her, me and my grant sponsor at the time, we found her on the street, and she was like bloated and dying of alcoholism. She was laying on a jacket behind a building. Man. And, you know, she had what they call wet brain. So she just wasn't really her, you know.
Man, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's all right. You know, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. She did have her own apartment. She died in her own apartment, you know, thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous. Thanks to me being in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was in the right place where somebody that knew her reached out to me like, hey, your mom wants to get sober. And I was able to, you know, orchestrate like a team and go find her. And we set her up in a motel room, gave her a bottle so she didn't die, you know what I mean? And then we took her to the hospital and then into treatment. And so she got sober. She got a year and then she started drinking again. But it was never like it was before, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't want to dig too much into that.
It's all right. Yeah.
So you go out to Colorado, you meet your aunt. So she says, you know, how can I help you? You basically say with a drink. Yeah. And tell me how you meet friends and people that you hung out with, and how do you get this behavior to continue that you
I had
brought
no
over
problem.
with you?
I had this one thing I never had a problem doing is making friends. You know, I still have friends that are in Denver. You know, I just talked to one a few days ago. You know, when you're partying, it's easy to find other partiers. Mm-hmm. You know,
there's a saying where it goes like, if you're smoking weed, everyone's friends, or something like that. If you're right, like if you're smoking weed with somebody, then you guys are both friends, right? Like something like that.
Super easy. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. But
I will say that, you know, if you want to hear one of my cooler stories about.
Of course I do, bro.
Okay.
I want to hear every story you have.
So I know we don't have like an endless amount of time, but I think this is one of the cooler stories in my life. So my mom got off heroin by doing meth. She moved to Palm Springs, and she called me when I was in Colorado. Hey, do you want to come down here? I got off heroin. I got a place out here. She failed to mention that she got off by doing meth, right?
Okay.
And I was like, sure, yeah, I want to be with my mom. I'll go move out there. And so I went out there, and you know, that's when I was introduced to hard drugs. So not only was she doing meth, but she was also selling it out there. Mm. And so I got introduced to that kind of lifestyle, you know. And for me, I'm a belligerent drunk. So when I drink, I have no idea how much I'm going to drink, and I have no idea what's going to happen. And that's basically what makes me an alcoholic. So I was able to do something that made it so I didn't black out, I didn't get belligerent, and it was a marriage made in heaven for me. And so, you know, I stayed out there for like a year, and stuff got really, really bad really quick out there. And so I moved back to Denver. And I did get my first DUI right before I went to back to California. So I moved back to Denver, and my mom was sending me speed in the mail. And eventually it got intercepted by the DEA.
Speed in the mail?
Yeah, this is pre 9/11. You were able to send drugs in the mail at the time.
Wow. Yeah. Like through like USPS?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, you know, pounds or anything, but it wasn't, you know, I mean, it was enough. And one of the shipments got intercepted.
Wow.
And I, you know, I got busted, and Colorado's a no tolerant state, and they were saying that 12 years. We're going to give you 12 years, but we're going to offer you something called diversion, which is like a joint suspension. Mm. And instead of going to prison, you're going to go on this diversion, and you have to do all these things. And if you do it all and you don't get in trouble, we'll wipe it clean. Like it won't even be a charge.
Wow.
But if you get in trouble, your prison sentence is already picked out. And so, you know, I know that I can't drink without consequences. So I tried to white knuckle it for a while. You know, I got a job at a bagel shop, and, you know, 3 months in, people at the bagel shop were like, you know, we're having a party at our house. Do you want to come by? Sure, you know, I'm bored. And I go there, and I wind up drinking a fifth of Captain Morgan and a half a bottle of GHB.
What's GHB?
It's like a rave drug.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a rave drug. You're supposed to, they come in water bottles. You're supposed to take a little cap and I just like drank it like it was water or whatever.
What is it like? Kind of like ecstasy, like Molly? What is it?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of euphoric like that. But people like do, scumbags will use it as like a date rape drug.
Oh, so it's like roofie?
It's not a roofie, but it's like a roofie. It'll mess you up bad, like if you put enough of it. Oh, and crazy. So and so needless to say, I was really messed up, and I was like, I'm going to go drive. And so I went driving, and I, ran into a fire hydrant and, got all these charges. No DUI because I made it home before then. But, the next day I was like, I'm going to prison, right? I'm going to
what age is this, by the way?
Going to prison. I think I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah. Here I go. I just stamped my ticket. And so I wind up at an AA meeting, at an AA club. And I go to the meeting and I leave it, and I'm sitting outside, and some lady came up to me and she goes, "Are you okay?" And I go, "No, I'm not okay." She's like, "What's going on?" And I proceed to tell her. And she goes, "My name's Susan. I used to be the DA of Arapahoe County, and I might be able to help you. I'm also a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous." I was like, "All right, here's my card. Give me a call tomorrow." So I call her, and we meet for lunch, and I show her my charges. She calls the courthouse, and she makes us a court date. We go to the court date, and it was just me, her, the judge, and the clerk. "Hey, Susan. Hey, Bob." It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. And, he's going through all my charges, $25 fine, dismiss. And I walk out of there with 0 charges and just $150 fine.
So nothing for wrecking the fire hydrant?
Nothing. I never got in trouble for it. And I was able to, she paid my fine, $150, and I never saw her again, dude.
Wow, Susan, the OG.
Like, yeah, and I don't even know if I don't even know what happened. I don't even know if she
was just like an angel that
she
just
was like, yes.
Are you religious, by the way?
No.
Okay.
I'm spiritual. I'm not. Okay. I'm not religious. And so, yeah, I made it through the 2 years of diversion, and then I decided to drink again. And I was off and running.
So the 2 years of diversion was basically like 2 years of sobriety? Were you sober during that time?
I was more dry than sober, but I was going to meetings.
You were not drinking, basically?
Yeah, I was not drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had somebody that I called to sponsor, did I, do the work that needs to be done to recover? No. I don't think I ever really wanted to. I just wanted to get out of trouble,
But it was always in the back of your mind that you wanted to drink again.
Pretty much, yeah.
So basically taking that drink after the 2 years wasn't too big of a deal. It was just kind of like you were waiting for it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a big deal. I actually called my sponsor and I said, "I don't think I'm an alcoholic, and I think I'm a little too young to make that assessment. And I think I was a little hard on myself, It was very clear at that time that I was an alcoholic, though, But I never got a chance to drink at a bar or anything like that. I wanted to go,
Go to a bar.
Yeah, I wanted to go see if I could do it, And I failed miserably for 9 years. It took me 9 years to get back.
Okay, so just sidetrack real quick. How would you define what alcoholism is and what it means to be an alcoholic?
How would I? Well, like I said, when physically, it's when I drink alcohol, I have no idea what's going to happen, and I can't control the amount that I drink. I can't stop. And then spiritually, we have a spiritual malady. And then mentally, we have a mental blank spot. So there's a lot of levels to alcoholism than just drinking. And it can resurface in obviously different areas.
Okay, and what? So would you classify the main characteristic of being an alcoholic as just not being able to stop drinking, or is there something deeper than that?
Oh, it's much deeper. Yeah, like I said, it's a spiritual malady. There's something spiritually different than what my sister has going on. You know, so okay. I had a conversation with my aunt one time, and she goes, "What do you think makes you an alcoholic?" And I don't know where this came from, but I looked at her and I said, "Well, when you drink, you get dizzy, you know, and you feel like you're losing control, and you stop drinking, correct?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "When I start drinking, you know, I start feeling a little goofy, a little silly, you know, a little dizzy, and I feel like that I'm gaining control." And so, like, that was the best way that I could describe it to her. And that's like the difference. You know, it does something different for me than it does in the normal drinker.
So there is definitely like a spiritual aspect to it.
Absolutely.
And why do you think it's different for you, let's say, than it is for your aunt? Why is
I don't know.
That difference?
I don't know. I don't think it's genetics. There's too many variables, you know what I mean? That you know, like my sponsor, he doesn't come from an alcoholic home. I do, you know. So I mean, it couldn't be genetics, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. And
if somebody finds out, they're probably gonna be like Buddha or somebody. You know what I mean? This is a serious deal that's happening right now, and a lot of people are dying. Yeah. Because of it.
So going back to your story, so the 9 years that you continued on drinking, walk me through what that was like. I kind of understand it's kind of like a blur, right? But
no, I mean, I remember some stuff. My wife wanted to make sure that I told my Toyota Prius story.
All right,
so
let's hear the Toyota Prius.
Shout out to my wife Elise, and you know, the love of my life. You know, and
right on.
You know, a lot of people like this story, but you know,
sorry to cut you off. So you guys met like when you were like in your 20s.
She was,
or she knows about these stories, and she wanted you to mention this one specifically.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought she like lived through this Toyota.
No, I met her in sobriety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But she loves the story. So, you know, I was drinking and doing drugs and stealing cars. Was like I got really good at it. You know, and the last time that I drank ever, I was drinking 2/5 of Kessler. Do you know what Kessler is? It's a cheap whiskey. And I was slamming as much speed as I can get into my system. And I wound up stealing a Toyota Prius, you know, and I had this car for like a week. And if you know anything about stealing cars, it's too long to have a stolen car. But it was good on gas, and my hustle was weak, and I was just burning out. And so my plan was I was going to go to Orange County, and I was going to meet somebody there, drive their car back, and leave the car there. And on the way to Orange County on the freeway, I get a police car behind me, or highway patrol, and they flip on the lights. And so I wind up getting into a high-speed chase in a Toyota Prius.
How well did you do compared to the...
I did very well.
Nice.
I mean, I got away. I got off the freeway. I ran through the red lights that were there. You know, I think it felt like there's a lot of lights. It felt like 6-way red light or something. I went into the neighborhood. I took 2 rights and a left, and I ran it onto somebody's lawn and got out and started jumping fences. And at this time in my life, I had 3 no bail warrants out for my arrest. And so I can't talk to the police. And I must have jumped 20 fences, and I finally landed in somebody's yard that somebody was working on a car. And I decided that I was going to go hide under the car, and I went under there, and I came very close to being found. I heard the radios on the other side of the fence. The helicopter was above me. I could hear their cars zooming around, and I just fell asleep.
So the guy wasn't there who was working on the car?
No, this is in like middle of the night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was nighttime. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, who thought Priuses would be on Need for Speed? You know?
Yeah, well, they're not slow, dude.
Yeah,
I think just the people that get them drive them slow. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So I'm assuming a lot of things are happening during this 9 years, right? Like you said, also you got introduced to speed or meth, right?
I got introduced to that at 15 years old with my mom.
And did that continue on until that point of sobriety?
Yeah.
So it was
off and on, yeah.
It was off and on, but
Yeah.
but the drinking was every day.
Always.
It was a daily drinking.
Yeah.
Was there
always drinking.
always drinking? And did you ever try to like seek help or anything like that, like during this time,
No.
or you just? What was your mindset like? Did you think, because I know at like 18 you didn't think that you had a problem with alcohol, right?
Oh no, I did.
Or-
That's just what I told people and myself.
Okay,
knew-
but inside you knew that.
I knew, yeah.
Okay,
I knew it was a bad idea.
and so during this 9 years before you actually get sober, what's the thought process? Is there a part of you that's pushing you towards sobriety, or are you kind of just like used to that lifestyle?
I wasn't just used to it. I loved it. And I was more than willing to die for it or go to prison for it or whatever.
Have you been to prison by any chance?
No.
Okay.
No. I spent 10 months in Wayside County Jail, but that was it. And I pride myself on that, actually. You know what I mean? And I only went there because somebody told on me.
So you were good at getting away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how are you paying for your addiction?
What do you mean pain?
How are you supporting this lifestyle?
Oh, yeah. I mean, stealing stuff. Or I like to say taking stuff. I got to the
Borrowing it indefinitely?
No, not borrowing it, taking it. I would just take stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like the idea of stealing. It seemed sneaky to me. So I would go in and just take it, and it gives everybody an equal opportunity to stop me, for me to get away with it or whatever,
So the drinking was every day, but the drugs was different and kind of on and off?
Well, at this point, when I came back, the drugs were all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the beginning you said, you were addicted to whatever you got, right? Like, give me some of the craziest ones.
I mean,
out of the...
acid, I did a lot of acid. Well, I did a lot, the quantity wise, I did a lot.
So a lot of people say doing acid kind of enlightens you, and your brain opens up into a different dimension or portal, and you gain wisdom. Is this true, or is this
the first time I did 5 drops. It was super clean, and I had probably the best time of my life. I tripped for I think 24 hours straight.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was with a bunch of people, good friends of mine in Colorado, that were just the perfect people to be around. And then I tried to chase that 4 more times and had a bad trip every time.
Really?
And I don't know if anybody's had a bad trip on acid, but it's scary.
What's that like?
When you don't want to trip anymore, that's not a good place to be when you're tripping. But I've done it all. I've done mushrooms, MDMA, ketamine, BCP, heroin.
What's the craziest experience out of all of these?
Well, I was with a guy that did heroin, and I was drunk, and he goes, he was making a thing or whatever with his needle.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You want some?" And I was like, I'm not gonna slam that. And he goes, "Just take it, just sniff it." And he gave me the spoon, and it had the liquid in it, and I just did this spoonful of liquid that was so nasty. And
just sniffing the liquid into your
liquid
nose?
out of the spoon, yeah. And I almost died.
Wow.
Because I was already drunk.
This is the first time I'm hearing this being a method of consuming heroin.
Yeah, I might have started. I don't know.
Because I've heard people snort it.
Yeah.
I've heard people slam it.
Yeah.
But never someone sniff
Sniffing the liquid. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And what's PCP like? Because I
don't like it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mostly I did it by accident, and sherms and, stuff like that.
I've heard that people throw themselves off of bridges and stuff on that.
I mean, I imagine you'd have to do a lot. I mean, it's not something that I would, seek ever. The best thing I ever did was mushrooms,
And what was the reason why Obviously each one of these things is like a different experience. What was the main reason you decided to not do the drugs anymore? And we'll get to the alcohol in a bit. Why'd you decide to stop?
Stop doing drugs?
Yeah.
And alcohol? Because
I'm kind of separating the both, but I don't know if you want me to do that. Because I'm thinking more of like, the drugs are each one is kind of like a different experience on its own. Obviously, like with acid, you can have a bad trip.
I wasn't really like addicted to any of that stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I was ever really addicted to meth, to be honest with you. I did it so I could drink well. So really, like,
it was just kind of like a side thing.
It was. I mean, and it was a hustle thing, and it made it, I do the meth, I sell the coke, you know what I mean? And like, meth made it so I could, have energy and like go out and commit crimes, and, but it all started and ended with a drink. And I didn't quit because I wanted to. I quit because I got arrested, and so I had no choice but to stop doing it. And I got sober because I got attracted to Alcoholics Anonymous, right? It's a program of promotion. I mean, attraction, not promotion. And I got attracted. I found my attraction.
So I definitely want to get into that. But going to the drugs thing real quick. Yeah. It was kind of like a side quest. It wasn't more of like your love, I guess, was the drinking, not the drugs, right? Like we were just talking about like how it's different for some people.
I mean, I loved them both, but alcohol was definitely my master.
And did the drugs, step into the scene after the drink, or did it always start with the drink and then the drugs came?
I mean, usually. Or
was there any kind of?
I mean, towards the end, I wanted it all the time. It was all very, very important. Towards the end.
Okay.
But in the beginning, it usually started like, all right, I'm not going to do drugs tonight, and then you have a couple drinks, and then you do.
But it was never, I'm not going to have any drinks tonight.
No, it was never that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So,
because I know that I would have to quit in order to do that.
Right. So tell me why, again, you decided to, get sobriety. Explain to me that, falling in love with the program.
Yeah. Well, I ran into, I got taken to a treatment facility from jail because they didn't believe that I would get there on my own. So I had to wait for them to pick me up. And I get taken to a treatment facility. And, my plan was, of course, to leave because I don't want to be sober. I don't want, anything but my alcohol. And the person that did my intake at the time, he shared in a general way what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And he made me feel comfortable. And he gave me a cigarette and a cup of coffee, and it was enough for me to stay that moment. And like I said, I came from jail. So, shower by myself in a comfortable bed seemed like a good idea, and a nice hot meal. So I was planning on just leaving the next day. And I got taken to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that night. And I stayed another night, and I got taken to another one. And eventually I got taken to my home group, which I still go to today. And there was a buddy of mine there. And I hadn't seen him in a couple years. And I thought he was either dead or in prison. Turns out he got sober.
Wow.
And he was different. He had a light in his eyes. He was talking to everybody. He had color in his face, smiling. Just a different guy. And he was my attraction to Alcoholics Anonymous, because I knew that he got loaded the way I did. And I was like, man, if it could work for him, maybe it could work for me.
And was this in Colorado?
No, this is here.
This is here.
Yeah. I spent I was in Colorado off and on for 4 years. That's all.
Okay. So you went to jail here and then to treatment.
I was in jail in Colorado too, but yeah. But I went to jail here, yeah, when I got sober.
And then you went to that AA meeting here.
Yeah.
What made you stay that first meeting that you went to, where you kind of just like, I wanted to leave the next day, but you know, you were already at this meeting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just like kind of tired, and I was plotting my escape, I guess, and like in no rush at this point. Where I was at, it was, you know, I was, you know, talking to a couple of fellows there, you know what I mean? And like made a couple friends, and, you know, I guess the urgency to run away wasn't there.
So it wasn't like anything special that was said that night that like sparked something.
Well, like I said, the person that did my intake, he is the one that shared with me his story, right? And I related to it, and I believed him, and so I stayed that night. You know, he really saved me in that aspect.
Wow.
You know, and I don't think he's there anymore, but a great guy, you know, and hell of a story. And he didn't need to do that. It's not his job. He's just doing my intake. But he could tell that I was about to leave, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to stay here, you know.
Right. So you fall in love with the program because you see the light in your friend's eyes. You see the change that the program brought to him.
Yeah.
And this was, I'm guessing, 17 years ago?
Yeah.
And
2008.
And from there on, tell me how the journey went.
The journey, you know, my friend, my buddy that I was telling you about, he introduced me to his sponsor. And, you know, he's still my sponsor today. And a great guy, and one of the most patient, loving people I've ever met in this world. And he's a man of action, you know, and he does the deal. And we got into the book, and the program's in the first 164 pages of the big book. And when the book said to do something, we did it, and my life changed. You know, I didn't smile my first year. I was not happy about losing the love of my life.
Yeah.
But, you know, slowly things started to change, you know, and I started to see things at a different angle. My perception finally started to change.
What would you say was the biggest change of your perception?
The biggest thing that, you know, that I did in sobriety, I think, was, you know, you start getting into the action steps. Step 4, you know, we did a fearless, you know, moral inventory, you know, and I put all my stuff down, you know, that I did wrong, you know, all my resentments, and I cleaned everything that was inside of me. You know, I did an inventory that was, you know, I cleared all the baggage that I had, you know, and I put it to paper. And there's something magical about putting pen to paper. I don't know. It still works for me to this day, you know. But I was able to see things at a different angle, you know, and the obsession to drink and use was gone. By the time I haven't thought about taking a drink or a drug since I had 10 months of sobriety. Hasn't even crossed my mind.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really remarkable.
It's a miracle.
What was the hardest step for you?
Yeah, probably 11 is the hardest and still is for me. You know, the prayer meditation.
And why would you say that?
It's just hard to, you know, sit still, you know, for me. And, you know, I'm good at praying, you know what I mean? But the meditation, it really works. You know, when I do it and I'm on top of my game, like my life is definitely smoother, you know, noticeably. And when I don't, it can be a little more chaos. But it's the hardest one for me to kind of buckle down with.
How would you say that overcoming this challenge has prepared you for the challenges of today?
I mean, there's nothing that's a good question. You know what I mean? I like I said in the beginning, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? I have a saying, you know, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting, you know? And my life is so good today, man. So good. You know, I got a beautiful wife.
Kids?
I have a 6-year-old son.
Nice.
I got a house. I got a basset hound dog. You know, I got all this stuff. But most importantly is that I have a sense of freedom inside of me. You know, that I'm not a slave to the bottle and the bag anymore. You know, and we have a sober house. Like I said, my wife is sober. She's going to be speaking tonight at a meeting. She does the deal, you know what I mean? And she works a great program. We actually met in Alcoholics Anonymous. We met on an AA panel. We were in a detox panel together, and I saw her, and I was, you know, had to see what's up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
Went on
That's
a couple
amazing.
dates, and you know, she had a rough go. You know, she got, you know, had to have open heart surgery. I was dating her for 3 months. She had to get open heart surgery.
Wow.
And I stayed with her. I don't know why, but I did.
You're a real one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to think so.
Sure, she appreciates you for that.
She does.
That's right.
Yeah.
And how would you, like, let's say you met somebody for the first time who's struggling with alcohol. What method or what way would you show them to, you know, get some sobriety or make the right choices to change?
Yeah, I mean, first step would be, you know, some sort of abstinence from it. You know, let's get them away from the bottle and the bag. Next step would, let's get into a meeting, you know, depending on how they're doing physically, mentally, maybe a detox wouldn't be appropriate. Especially if it's, you know, medically necessary. Maybe a sober living, maybe a treatment facility. It's all speculative. You know, it's not one person, you know, one size fits all, right? But I think long-term sobriety and the relief that I know real alcoholics need comes from the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's, you know, in the meetings and in the book. And so that's what I always try to nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think your approach would be different based on the person's age? Like, let's say a 19, 20-year-old
No.
versus, let's say, a 45-year-old?
No.
Same approach.
Same approach.
Get some clean time or some sober time, some abstinence, actually.
Yeah.
Got to fix my verbiage here.
No, you're good. Yeah,
We
clean
get
time.
beat up by you.
Not even, bro.
And Max, too. He's going to come beat he corrected me last time. So some abstinence and then getting into the program, going to a meeting. What do you think is so important about hearing other people share their experiences that, like, changes something within somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, it's experience, strength, and hope. You know, so it's very important to know that it's possible. Eventually, if you stick around long enough, you'll hear your story. You know, and it's just important to make sure that you're looking for the similarities and not the differences when somebody talks, because it's so easy to see the differences and say that, oh, that's not like me. You know, like most people didn't have my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've had a very odd and unique life, you know, so far. But my relationship with alcohol and drugs is just like anybody else's, you know, and the way I felt, you know, is just like you guys, you know, and that's what you have to look for.
Do you think there's a sense of accountability seeing others who are maintaining that sobriety, which makes you kind of like have to conform in a way to be accepted, or, you know, kind of like looking in from the outside, right? Like if I'm drinking, if I'm a heavy drinker, if I'm an alcoholic and it's my first time coming to a meeting, right? And I'm seeing all these people there who have sober time, and, you know, they're just that light in them is attracting me. Do you think that I'm going back there because I want to be a part of that? Or is there something else to it?
I mean, as long as you're going back, I don't know if it really matters. You know, I mean, you could be.
That's such a good answer for such a thing question. But yeah.
I mean, if you're going after a girl that's there, at least you're going.
Yeah.
Right?
As long as you're going, right,
Yeah.
you're going to pick up something that's more than likely will change something.
One
right?
hopes.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you do need to open up the book and do the work in order to get relief. you know. And that's why I'm always like, I see people that come in that are new and they're all happy to be sober. And I'm like, why are you happy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a correct response. We're taking the one thing that made it so you can walk through life. Why are you so happy? You know? And those people, unfortunately, usually go out. You know, it's the ones that come in that are just, you know, their heads down. They know it's over.
Yeah.
They surrendered, you know, and they know that they can't have that love of their life anymore. And those are the people that I want to surround myself with.
I have 2 more questions for you. So what do you think is the biggest reason why newcomers are not being able to stick it?
Well, I mean,
right.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's a valid question because there are a lot of newcomers. I think there's a lot of people that just really shouldn't be here yet.
It's not their time?
No. It's not their time.
Think they should just go and get done?
Well, I don't want, you know, it's so scary out there, you know, because fentanyl's and everything, that I don't want them to go out there. But at the same time, they're not in there for the right reasons. You know what I mean? They're a nudge from a judge. Their parents want them to go. You know what I mean? Interventions or whatever. You know, there's a lot of people that are pushed into there.
Yeah.
You know, and it just doesn't seem to stick. I mean, I guess in a way it's a good thing because, you know, it gives us a chance to plant some seeds with people, right? So they know where to go when they want to.
Right.
So in that aspect, I think it's good.
Definitely. And so you would say that desperation is a key factor to the change, you know?
It's a key factor for the start, you know? I don't think it's the only factor that you need. Because if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't desperate when I got there. Mm-hmm. You know, I just did the work. I never wanted to be sober. I did the work, and despite myself, my life changed.
Yeah.
The way I looked at it changed.
It's like a magical recipe.
I just magically got sober.
Yeah.
I was just struck sober. I was like, what's going on? I'm getting a job. I'm getting a driver's license, you know. I'm going to 5 meetings a week. I have an AA panel, you know. I have this big AA life.
Yeah.
And now today, you know, I'm a productive member of society, you know. I just started my own business.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that I ever thought was in the cards for me. Mm-hmm. You know, despite myself, Alcoholics Anonymous worked.
Yeah. And in those beginning years, because I know your life is great now, but it took some time to get to this point.
It took a lot of time. I was in sober living for 2.5 years, man.
So what was it during that beginning stages that like still kept you in the program, that still, you know, kept you going back?
The people, you know, AA is a triangle, and it's service, unity, and recovery, right? So the people, I surrounded myself with really good people, and they loved me until I could love myself, you know, and they showed me the path.
Last question for you, you know, say you're to go out today
and get loaded?
No.
Oh.
I don't want to use the word die. You know, it sounds a little too thing. But let's say, you know, this is your last day on Earth. How would you want the people around you to remember you by?
I remember you asked that question. That's like the question, yeah. And I started to think, real simple, you know, that I was a loving father, a loving husband, a loving friend, a loving son, you know, that I loved people and that I loved people and people loved me, you know. And I hope I put enough energy out into the world so that I could, you know, I like to believe that, you know, I'm going to find my wife, you know, in another life. You know, she even said it today, I love you so much, you better find me, you know, when it's all over, you know. And I said, of course I will, you know. So, who's going to remember me? My son, you know, like I want my son to think that his dad was stand up. He took care of business. He loved me. And he made it so that I was ready for life myself.
Amazing. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
That was dope.